Hey guys, in this episode I'm going to show you how to change the background of any photo in Photoshop. Hey everybody, welcome to Kelvin Designs. My name is Kelvin and I design, and that's why it's called Kelvin Designs. Click down here to subscribe to my YouTube channel and get all these episodes as they come out, and click at the top up here to get the source files to this episode and every other episode for free by signing up to my newsletter. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to change the background of any photo in Photoshop, and you can see a before right here and the after here. It's a pretty dramatic change, and I show more than just changing the background. I show how to integrate the foreground with the background and make it a more realistic composite. So let me show you. All right, so to start, you're going to need some source files to follow along this tutorial. And to do that, go to my website, kelvindesigns.com, and click on the free lessons, and you'll find the tutorial that we're recording, which is not here yet because we're recording it. But let's imagine it's this one. Just click on it, and if you don't have create an account on my site, you can do that for free. Up here it says create account. And once that's done, you can just click on this big blue button, download source files. All right, and that'll download a zip file that contains this folder. And in here you have a dancer and a forest. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is open up, let's just open them both up here. And I got the forest and I got the dancer right here. All right, so we're going to start with the dancer. Let's zoom in here. I'm doing a Command plus. Actually, I want to make this I want to use this space a little better. All right, so what I want to do is take this dancer and extract her from the background. It's pretty busy. It's thankfully a little out of focus, so that'll help us. But I still need to outline it. So in this case, I would use the quick selection tool, which is basically the other magic wand. And I'd start off by just going around here, and I want to select everything but her. All right, and so the whole background here. Let's get this all here. Okay, and I just kind of close in on it. If it takes her legs like it just did, hold on the Alt key to make it a minus, and just minus out her legs. Okay, we want everything but her. So like that, and here. Add the green in here, the green in here. Okay, add all this and this. And sometimes it gets a little tricky when you get colors that are very similar, and we can always come in here and edit, but for now, that's pretty good. You can also just take the lasso tool. I use the polygon lasso, and just hold on to Shift and add any of the things here that are very obvious, like the car and the rest of this background here. See? And let's go back to this tool, and oh, I still have some over here. Let's do that. L for lasso, or M for marquee, and just hold on Shift, and just add this chunk here and this. All right. So we're gonna go and zoom in a little bit and get a little bit closer. So hold on the Control and the Option key to make this a little bit smaller, and that way you can go in here and add this part. This part. It's pretty good. Okay. Maybe a little in here. Even smaller. I want to kind of get in this little green area. It's not. Sometimes it doesn't get all the pieces you want. All right, this hand needs to be included. So hold on the Alt to minus that out. Just remember, we're selecting the background, not her right now. Okay, so hold on the Alt. I want to make sure all her fingers are there, and that's pretty important, obviously. Okay. Anything here where it's semi-transparent, you can just kind of leave that. That's for the second part of this process, which I'll show you in a second. So get this in. This is pretty clean. Oh, this is pretty clean. Okay, let's make sure that we got her full legs. Oh, her feet were a little cut out, so let's just hold on the Alt key there. And if we want to get a cleaner selection of this, I recommend going into, whoops, undo that, the quick mask mode after, and we can just kind of brush it. But for now, let's just do this. Oh, we got here, let's just take that out. We didn't want that. Okay. All right, so that's good enough for now. Zoom out a little bit. And once you have this basic selection, I invert it. Command Shift I, or on a PC, Control Shift I. Or you can just go here, Select, and Inverse. So once this is done, I click on the Select and Mask. All right, so this takes me into this sort of alternate application. Let's go ahead and just make this smaller. I gotta make this smaller somehow because it's hiding. It's interesting that it's doing this. But let's just, I'm just gonna bring it down here for now. All right, we're doing this. So once I'm in here, this shows me that it's black background, which is pretty useful. So that way I can see if I'm selecting this properly or not. And I can basically tell it to do some edge detection. So like, let's zoom in a little bit so you can see better. Here we're 200%. All right, so I do not want this area, but we'll go in here, Clint. What I want is that I want it to find the edge a little better. So let's just increase this radius just a touch, and you see how it's kind of becoming smarter about it, about that edge. Okay, let's take, so in the second brush, it's basically telling it where there is semi-transparency, the refined edge brush. So like, I'm gonna make this a little smaller. I'm gonna say here, there's some transparency. So I brushed that in. I brushed the edge of the hair, and I'm basically telling it, recalculate this area. There's some areas in here that are somewhat semi-transparent. So please go in there and recalculate. Same here. All the edges of this skirt, which have semi-transparent areas, I wanted to kind of reconsider where those edges are. Pretty simple. All right, here it's pretty clean. It's pretty clean. Maybe a little bit up here. See, it's sort of semi-transparent. Okay, and down here I need to clean up. All right, we're good with that for now. And let's just hit OK. And the output is a selection. All right, so now, once this is done, I do want to clean up because I do want a pretty perfect selection. So I'm going to hit Q, which brings me to Quick Mask. And in here, if you go to Channels, you can switch between just the mask or a mask with the channels. So I'm going to go and hit B for brush. And my go-to brush is 45 size, 85 hardness. Now that works pretty good, usually at a high resolution file at 100%. This is a little big for 200%, and most of my selections I do actually at 300% because you can get really nice and detailed. But in that case, you want probably a smaller brush, something like 25. But I keep that 85 because I wanted a semi-hard edge so that I can still edit it, and I don't want it to be completely hard because that looks, too cut out, and I don't want it too soft because that's not committed enough to what's selected or not. So in here, you can you see that that's black and white. So black means it's being selected, and white means it's not. Okay. Now that's not the default. The default is actually when you double click in here, you see the default is masked area. So this is what the default would look like. See, everything that's masked out is what's not selected. So I prefer painting what's being selected. So that's just an old method of doing that, and that's why this area is masked or red. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in even 400%, and I want to get rid of some of this extra fuzz that's out here. So I hit X to switch this to white, and here we go. Just take this out. Oof, that 50% opacity needs to be at 100. So just bring that there. Shortcut is just holding on. There's a 0 on the numeric keypad. All right, I'm just going to take some of this fuzz out. But what I'm more concerned about is this edge over here. And you can really see it better here. See that edge? It should be a nice, clean, soft edge. I'm going to go ahead and make this even smaller, 15. Hold on, the X for black. All right, and here we go. I'm just going to, and what I'm doing is I'm clicking and I'm shift clicking. Hold down to shift, and what that does is, if I click here and then I shift click here, it makes a line between the two. So it connects those two dots. And that's a way to kind of make a nice, smooth edge, is with a semi-soft brush, and you shift click, and now that edge is going to be really nice and smooth. And we can turn this back on if we want, but it's nice. It's kind of easier to see the edge when that's off. Okay, and I do this just for areas that are sort of it seems a little, look at that. That doesn't look like a clean selection, right? So go in here, and this bracelet should definitely be in there. You don't want to take your bracelet out. So something like this, and I kind of just smooth it out. I usually, when I use this method, I actually start off with the quick selection, meaning the quick mask rather, and then I finish off with the parts that have semi-transparency, like hair, and in this case, the skirt. All right, so pretty simple. Sometimes this takes a couple minutes. It's never that long. Usually people are like, oh, there's manual work and it's going to take too long. But really, we're talking about maximum 10 minutes. And in the end, you have a perfect selection, which is always worth it. So something like this. And and something like this. Okay. See down here, I always kind of turn it on, see what I'm missing or something. Okay, this is pretty good. All right, here there's some definite weird. I'm gonna get rid of that. This. Definitely want to keep that semi-transparent. That's pretty cool. Keep that in there. And what do I have here? Ooh, I have some noise in there, but I can get rid of that later in a different way that I'll show you. It's kind of hard to see it in this mode. So, all right, here's where it really gets kind of tricky. So what I'm actually going to do here is take the marquee tool, just take this up to around here, because I feel like this whole selection is bad, and Alt-Delete just kind of fills it with white, which basically means not selected. Go back to the brush, and I'm just going to redo this manually. So black to select it in my case. I'm going to make it even smaller. Let's do a 10 pixel brush, zoom into 500%. All right, and once again, holding down Shift and click. All right, once this is done, just go in here to the magic wand and just select in here. And I go to select, modify, expand. Let's just do 5 pixels and fill it, Alt-Delete with the foreground color, which is black, which means I have a perfect selection. Okay. All right, so now get out a quick mask. Now this has become a selection. And I can come here, and to turn it into a mask, just click this button right here. All right. So we have pretty clean edges. It's a little hard to see on this checkered background, which is why I usually don't use it. But in this case, I'm going to create a new layer, just put it right behind it, and I'm going to fill it with black, so I can really see what we're dealing with. So I have some green here, I have some weird skin tone here, some green here. So what I do in this case is I try to get rid of most of that or all of that with ooh, I have a little problem here with the selection. So let's just go clean that first. Brush and white, and let's just shift click this in here. Yeah, sometimes the edge gets a little rough, especially when you have such a busy background. That tool has a hard time determining foreground from background. All right, so to get back to what I was saying, I use dodge and burn. All right, very simple. So, I mean, very simple. When you understand how this works, this mask, the black area, is hiding or concealing the background, and the white is revealing it. So, and in between here, there are shades of gray. So if I burn, I'm basically going to conceal more. All right, so let me show you. Here, midtones, and let's just do 50%. Take a smaller brush, and I'm just going to burn in here. And you see that? It just, I just added, look, before, after. Before, zoom in so you can really see it. See, before I had a little green here, a little skin tone here, whatever that is, and I kind of just burned in the mask, and I still kept all my details, so that's good. And let's do it here a little bit. I don't know what that is. So that's going to need more than just the burn tool, so I hit the brush. Let's go really small here, and I might actually just make the hardness 0 for this one, because I don't, whoops, black to conceal, and still 2, let's do 10, and that's pretty good. Okay, something like that. It's a little soft, but we'll deal with it. Go back to the burn tool and just kind of burn it in there, burn a little here. Here's still some over here, so just burn that. If something lingers, I just take it out with a brush. Most of the time, just burning it out does the trick, so that's nice, right? Okay, so it's a nice little trick in here, Sam. I want to just kind of burn it in a little bit. It's a nice little trick, and another thing you can do to do it overall, let's say like everywhere around here you have a little bit of a fringe, guess what? You can just open up the levels, and this is the levels to the masks. So if I go this way, I'm going to bite in, and if I go the other way, I'm going to expand. You see, you can see all the edges. So this kind of lets you, in post-selection, determine how far or how much you want to kind of eat into it. And let's say you like it, but it's a little too sharp. Well, it's pretty simple. Before you do that, just go into the filter, add a tiny bit of Gaussian blur. Not 6 points. Let's do 0.2, and let's see what that edge looks like. So before, after. Could go a little higher. Let's do 0.4, before, after. Do a preview here. It's very, very mild, but that little bit of blur is helping you so that when you go to your levels in the mask, you have even more pixels to play with as far as what's being
revealed or not. Okay? All right, I'm just going to bring it in a little bit just to kind of get rid of some of the fringe around here. And that's pretty good. Okay, so now we have our dancer. We can get rid of this background. And what we're going to do is convert this to a smart object. So convert to smart object right here. Okay. So if we want to go in and change the mask or whatever, we can always go and do that by double clicking in here, and that brings up our smart object, which is saved within this file. But because I don't want to, if I change her in some way or I add any kind of effects, I don't really want to, and I don't want it to be destructive, so I keep it as a smart object. Let's go ahead and save this on my desktop, dancer.psd, just so that we don't lose it. Okay, next step is we're going to take this background here that I had over here, and let's go ahead and just bring it into this other file. Okay, go ahead and close this now. So it's a pretty small file, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to blur it considerably. Once again, I'm going to turn this into a smart object. Once that's done, I'm going to bring it behind here, and let's go ahead and transform this so that it occupies the full width, or full height rather. So something like this, and it's not bad. Okay. Okay, that's pretty good. I like that. And okay, now one of the things that I'm going to do, there's quite a few things I want to change to this background. First of all, it's much too busy, much too sharp. So as it's a smart object, we should actually name these. So let's call this forest and dancer. It's a very good habit to name your layers. So in the forest, we're going to open up the blur gallery, field blur, and this is pretty cool. This is going to create sort of a natural looking blur, as if done with a shallow depth of field. So in here, I don't know, I'll bring it up. Maybe, I don't know, around, let's try, around 40. And I do want some bokeh. I want some light bokeh in there. So I'm going to bring that up. I don't know, let's try this. See, I like that. It kind of gives it a natural, I don't know, it makes it look real. And then the bokeh color, see, gives it some color. See that? Yeah, I like that. Kind of gives it some more depth even. And the light range, I don't know if this is default. Yeah, you don't want it like that. Kind of like up here, I had it. What was it? About 190 or something like that. Okay. Now remember, this is a smart object, so this is actually a smart filter, meaning you can come back, and if you thought it was, you can change it or whatever, you can always come back and change it. So pretty cool. You see that? Smart filters. I can go in here and say, hey, I want to change it. Maybe instead of a 38, I want to type in here 41. Get a little more blur. Okay, and yeah. Anyway, that's for that background. And here, hit OK on this. Once you have, so now we basically have our basic composite, but there's a few problems with this. First problem is the color doesn't really integrate with the foreground and the background. So let's go ahead and fix that. One of the things I really like this technique. Create a new layer. Let's call this Vignette. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and fill with a 50% gray. Okay, in here. Hit OK, and I'm going to turn this to a smart object and turn this to overlay. Okay, now overlay with a 50% gray means it's completely transparent. Okay, and it's a smart object because I want to add a filter, which is a camera raw filter. And what I want to add in here is pretty simple. I just want, if you go to the effects over here, I want to do some vignette. And I like the way that the vignette effect is done in the camera raw filter. So it's kind of a nice, sort of a natural, pretty easy. You can kind of feather that more if you want it. I like it nice and feathered. And I also want some grain, because one of the things that kind of makes it obvious that you made a composite is that the two photos were taken totally different times, different cameras, and different lighting, so one may not have the same grain as the other. In fact, I'm pretty sure it doesn't. So not too much, maybe that's a little too much, but like something like that. And let's look at what it did. Let's zoom in a little bit to see what we did. So before after. Now you see there's this grain here that's in both of them, and it sort of helps marry them together. It kind of just puts them together, all right? All right, so that's the vignette and the grain. And we're still have some work to do, but it's definitely helped. Just that little bit definitely helped. And we can always come back again. It's a smart object, so you can go back in here and say, you know what, I want it a little bit more dark, a little darker like that. Okay, hit OK, and we're good. So that's kind of a cool trick. All right, now another one. Create another layer. We'll call this lens flare. You thought you were never going to use this, but you are. So let's fill this with black. Edit, fill. Let's do black. Okay. And again, convert to smart object. Now, this is not a huge file, so even though we have a bunch of smart objects, it should work fine. Okay. And let's go ahead and make this into screen mode. And now, filter and render lens flare. So what did I do? I created black background and I made it screen. And what that means, screen means that anything that's black is actually transparent and anything that's white is not. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want it to be non-destructive. I wanted another layer that I can go in there and I can add, I can go and edit my lens flare if I want to. So if I click in here and say OK, and now I actually want to create I like doing this in 2 goes. So I add a second lens flare and I do it as the, what is it? The 105. I like mixing the 105 and the 50 to 300. And maybe turn this down a little bit. Well, 95 is fine. Hit OK. All right. So this very obvious lens flare. There's a few things about this lens flare that I don't like. It's a little too sharp, and there's too many colors. So because it's a smart object, if I go and I do adjustments and hue saturation, it's a smart correction. And I can colorize this, and if I wanted a warm color, which I do, kind of go in here, see what I can do. I'm colorizing, right? I'm assigning it a monochrome to the lens flare, which is kind of cool. So something nice and warm, hit OK. And another thing that I want to do is blur it. Too many little details, too many little things. Let's try 5. It's pretty good. I want to have some of this, but not as much as is being shown here. So I'm really trying to create a light source from this lens flare. Once I have done all the effects that I have, I can move this as I want. Remember, this is a separate layer in screen mode. In fact, I want it considerably bigger. And I'm just going to undo that move for now. I'm going to go to my Gaussian blur, which I realize I think is a little too high. Let's try 5. Is that good? That's pretty good. OK, let's leave it at that. I want to have a little bit of the details here. See this? This ring completely disappeared, and the outside ring of this one disappeared. Once it's all done, hit Command-T. I can't see my lens flare because when you go into Command-T, it actually hides all the smart object effects and filters. But I know it's right around here, so if I hit Escape, I know it's right here. And I actually want it to be here, up right above this, and certainly bigger. So hit Enter on that. OK, it's a little too high. I want it like that. It's pretty good. Let's make it even bigger. Something like this. OK. All right, and it's a little bit too, let's go to the opacity over here. Let's go to 95. Just a little lighter, maybe even less. 90. Pretty good. OK, I'm noticing that now it's too sharp now that I've made it too much so big. Go to the Gaussian blur. Let's bring it up to 7. See what that's like. Even more. Maybe the 9 was right. Could have been, yeah. See? All right. So here's what I like. 2 things happened. I created a light source. It's a little, maybe it's a little heavy over here. I can make it a little smaller. If I can't grab any of the points, I just go in here, hit the link button, and type it in. Let's do 170. OK, hit return. There we go. All right, bring it up. I actually like this better. It was a little too big before. My color is a little strong. So the 2 things I like. 1, I've created a light source, and 2, because I did a hue set with a colorize on it, it's basically doing almost like a photo filter. You see how it kind of colorizes everything below it. And what that does is, because it's colorizing just a little bit, both the dancer and the background, it's bringing those 2 once again, like the grain did with the vignette, it's bringing these 2 more together. It's marrying them even better. Not totally done yet, but it's certainly an improvement. I do think it's a little too red, so I'm going to go and click on the Hue Set and maybe turn down the saturation a little bit and turn this up a little so I'm a little more towards the yellows. and it's not going to show me the before. It's showing me without it. So let's just, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Click on Hue Set, bring this up a little bit, bring this down a little bit, not too much, something like this, and hit OK. All right, it's pretty good. I think maybe a little bit to the right would be better, something like that. Okay. Now, why did I make it? I originally made it small. Well, the reason is I wanted to have all the rings, and if I did it out here, these rings would be down here way further. So to have it fully in, I have to make it within the compounds of the layer and then expand that layer. That's the only way you can kind of trick that effect from the filter lens flare. All right. I think our lens flare layer is pretty good. We can always tone it down a little more if we want it to, but for now that's pretty good. Okay, so there is one other thing. I want this to be the light source, and the light source would essentially be mostly on her front and less on her back. So let's see how this is. It's affecting everything pretty evenly. So let's create a little mask, and B for brush. Let's go with a pretty big brush and totally soft, so no hardness, and that's pretty good. And hit return, and then in opacity, let's hit 20. And I'm basically going to manually brush places that would be in the shadow. If this light source is here, the light's over here, and this is the shadow, this is the shadow, it's all, this left side is more in the shade. So I'm going to do that, kind of manually just taking it out right here, a little bit. I'm 20%, we can maybe turn it out to 40. Make this a little bigger, like so. All right. So the difference is before, after. It's a minor detail, but now the shadow is a little more is more in the shade. If you feel like it was a little too much, you can always just tone this down. You know, less of that, which is let's just view properties on this mask. In the properties, you can hit the density and just kind of tone this down. So this is the density of this mask. If I want to bring it back a little bit, just tone down the density just a tiny bit. Okay, so that is the lens flare and the mask of it. I do want to kind of create a stronger highlight in this particular area, which is supposedly the most exposed to the light source. So to do that, I'm going to command click on this layer of the dancer, or control click on a PC. It has to be on the icon itself or it won't work. You can't do it over here. So command click that. And once you're done with that, let's create a new layer. Let's just call this the highlight. Okay. And this is a cool little trick. What you want to do is go to paths. So paths are vectorial paths. And if you're unfamiliar with that, I have a tutorial on my channel that you can check out on how to use paths and the pen tool. It's pretty simple. But for the purpose of this tutorial, just click on paths and go in here and hit make work path. It's going to ask you the tolerance. And I think the lowest is 0.5. I usually try 0.2, and it tells me it's the lowest is 0.5. And so I do 0.5 here. So what did that do? It turned my selection into a vector path, all right, which turned into what's called a work path. So you want to turn that into a real path by double-clicking it and just calling it, just double-clicking it. Any name is fine. Here, like that. So it turned into what was essentially a temporary work path into a now going to be saved with the file path, all right? The only part that I'm interested in is really from here, all around here, and to around here. Everything else, not interested. So go to the direct selection tool right here, and I'm going to select a few anchor points here and just hit delete, and do the same around here, and delete, right? And maybe some over here, delete. Now, it basically separated into two. I have all of these, which I can now delete all, and then these as well, delete, right? So all I'm left with should be this side. Oh, and one little anchor point right there. So that's exactly what I want. I just want this, okay? And it's not the cleanest path, but it doesn't really matter for this. What I'm going to use this path for is kind of cool. Go to layers. I created this this layer here called highlights. And what I'm going to do is go to my brush tool, so B for brush, and I'm going to pick a brush that you could really pick any brush, but I want to pick a brush. These are all preset brush from Photoshop, so let's try this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a brush that would essentially simulate the highlights, right? I'm going to do it in white, maybe make this a little smaller, and then try this. Oh, it needs to be 100%, so make sure the opacity is 100%. And I'm just going to see, what does that look like? Not great. Why does that look gray? Interesting. Oh, well, that's the actual brush. That's not actually totally white. Let's try this one. See what that's like. That's pretty good. It's got a, I'm trying to give it something more than just a straight, sort of a boring brush. So anyway, these could work. I'm trying to see what are these like. This is pretty good. I'm trying to give it some pattern. I think I like this one the best. Okay, so what I do is I select the brush that I like in the size that I like, which is this pretty good. Maybe a little too big. Let's go with a 6 point. Okay, that's pretty good. And then I go to paths and I right click here and I say stroke path. And in that, I hit the brush so that it's going to take the brush that I had and I'm going to say simulate the pressure. So now it simulated the pressure. So it doesn't all just do it evenly. I wanted there to be some kind of randomity. It's a little rickety around here, but we can kind of clean that up. All right, so now the highlight, I just have a line. If you can see that, there's just a line. So it's not that nice. But what I'm going to do is, first thing, convert to smart object as per usual. And then I'm going to double click in here to get into the layer style. And we're going to do a outer glow. And let's just do white, 100% opacity. And let's just make that a little bigger, not too big. Something like that. It's pretty good. Okay, maybe 7 or 8, 9, something like this. I just want to make it like almost like a lightsaber, like it's kind of a light source type of thing. Okay, my brush size may have been a little bit too big. All right, and you could try. I'm probably not going to keep it, but I want to try the inner shadow. And let's do by inner shadow I mean inner glow. And let's just do normal. And I wonder what if I did black? What if I went in here? Would that soften that edge a little bit? It does a little bit, but it's not great. I'll turn it off. It's really what I want is that. Okay, and I hit OK. And I'm going to turn the opacity down. So hit V for the move tool. And if you on the numeric keypad, if you just type in the number like 50, it turns down your opacity. Okay, and that's kind of cool. It's kind of good. Still pretty strong. The biggest difference is that it's white, and there wouldn't be white. It would be kind of a warmer yellow. But for now, that's pretty good. I can also just kind of blur the whole thing a little bit, and that's gonna lower the opacity. So let's go to like maybe 2 here. So before, after, maybe a little more. Let's go to 4. Before, after. So the problem with that is that it becomes a little too far away. So let's do a little one, like a 2. And let's see what that's like. It's all right. Not a huge fan of this, actually. I'm going to go back down to 1. I just want to get some of the rickety stuff out. All right, and then the other thing I'm going to do is hit a mask, B for brush, and I'm going to pick a normal round brush and bring this up a little bit. Okay, hit return. And I just want to mask out this area. I want it to progressively leave here and here. Whoop, maybe just a little bit right there. Okay, and I'll do like a 20%. So up here in the opacity, hit 20. And what I want is like, I don't want it to be totally even everywhere. So I'm brushing in the mask here. I want it to kind of disappear around here. I want it to be stronger here than here. All right, and kind of just lower that on this end. Maybe a little less on her face. So it's kind of slowly bring that away. And more on her, because it looks more natural in her dress and less so on her face. So I kind of just, with a little brush, I'm just easing out right here, all right? See that before I did all those corrections, it looks like that, a little too sort of systemic or whatever. And if I enable it, it's kind of easier, nicer. Okay, so that's the little highlight, which is kind of cool. I'm happy with that. And let's see, pretty good. All right, at this point, I'm going to not destroy anything, I'm going to hit the Command Option Shift E, which creates a new layer from everything that's visible, right above on top of everything. And once I've done that, I'm going to convert this to a smart object. Okay, and in here I'm going to do some what's basically double processing. So I've already processed everything in here, 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 and here, all these different layers of processing. Once they're all together, I like to reprocess them in Camera Raw. And what do I do in here? I do some basic, let's say I want a little bit more contrast, and I kind of want to bring the highlights down a little bit, so do that. And maybe open up the shadows just a touch, something like this. And I definitely want to add some clarity, just to give it a little more contrast, something like that. Not too much. I don't want it to affect the skin tones too much. And one thing I definitely want to do is add a little split toning, which will definitely help sell the merging of both of the photos together. So in this one, I would do something something in the warmer tones for the highlights. So something around 50, something like that. And I would bring it up maybe in the quarter, like something like there, all right? And in the shadows, probably a little colder. So somewhere around here, maybe in the purples or blues, something like that. And not too strong. I don't want my shadows to be too purple, but you see how it's kind of it kind of blended that image a little bit. The blacks are a little bit purple, and the highlights are a little warmer, but it applied it to both background and foreground, which once again, the more effects you do to both foreground and backgrounds, and the more you edit the white point and black points of both at the same time, the more those two are going to be, they're going to feel like they belong together, which is the whole purpose of the composite and changing the background. So hit OK on that. And there's a couple things. So because I have my highlight here, I really want to lead the eye to the top. So I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Hit G for gradient, and make sure I'm a foreground to background, foreground to transparent, and hit D for default. And I just want a basic gradient. I'm going to go from here. Ooh, that's a little light. Let's bring this. Well, I could bring it. Actually, I can leave this to. Let's do 30%. Bring this up here. I'm going to do one at an angle over here to kind of close in that corner. Maybe a little bit over here. But really, I'm trying to darken the bottom to lead the eye more to the top right. So that's pretty cool. Pretty happy with that. And maybe a little bit, not that end. Maybe a little more on this side. Bring it up a little more. See, I don't know. I like closing up the image a little bit. It really kind of helps bring that together. Not that it needs it in RGB, but if you're for some reason doing this in CMYK, I recommend you put this on multiply. That'll really help sort of not have blacks that become gray. Okay, and then another thing that really helps, and we can zoom in a little bit, is I will add a warming filter, which is a photo filter. So go in here and do photo filter, and I want it to be warm, so this first one's good. And as far as the, maybe increase that a little bit to like 30%, so you can see that before, after. So it definitely gives it a cast, but again, it helps sell the idea that they were both sort of together. So I like that. And you can always, it might be a little low contrast now, so you can, I would probably add a little S-curve and realize this is upside down. So if you have this by default, let me just explain this. I use pigment ink, but yours probably looks like that. All right, so in my case, the shadows are on the right. So I want to increase the shadows and I want to maintain my quarter tones right here. So maybe a little lighter than that. It's a little strong, but something like that. Let's see that before, after. Yeah, I like that little added contrast. So there you go. That is the full changing of a background and a few little tips along the way.
All right, well, I hope you learned something, and I hope you liked this episode. And if you did, don't forget to like the video and share it on Facebook or Google+. It really helps me out. I'll see you in the next episode.